Tippy. That was inspired. Yeah.
We are talking Marvel Rising Secret Warriors. This is an animated movie directed by Alfred Guillemino and Eric Radomski. Now, this one I think originally was a series of webisodes, a series of short, episodes of kind of animated content, and now we have this kind of film. So this one focuses on newer heroes, ones that have come into prominence within the last few years, the last 10 years or so, or ones that have been around but have kind of like come to prominence within the last few years. So this is obviously aimed at a very young audience. The animation style, the level of complexity in the story and stuff like that, it's clearly aimed at, if you watch the Ultimate Spider-Man TV show, that kind of thing. It really focuses, the main two characters here are Ms.Marvel, who is a relatively new character, an inhuman, and Squirrel Girl, who has been around for a while but has come into prominence the last few years. And they're these two, two kind of like amateur superheroes, so to speak, who end up kind of getting embroiled in this kind of conflict between two groups of inhumans, and the Kree may or may not be involved. They recruit a number of other kind of heroes, including America Chavez, Inferno, Patriot. You've also got appearances from Captain Marvel and Daisy Johnson, who is, of course, from the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. TV show. And they basically form a kind of a loose team to ultimately try and get to the bottom of the threat here. So let's talk about what works first of all. If you're a young Marvel fan, especially if you are American, I feel this movie is made, it's definitely for you. Like I've said, it's kind of it really is very similar to that Ultimate Spider-Man series. Very kind of bright, very kind of zany. The animation style is kind of like, has a anime feel. It's kind of very kind of like not particularly detailed, but the actual animation as well. You know, it's a mixed bag, to be quite honest. It does seem they've kind of reduced the amount of frames and stuff, but there are some sort of fun animations as well in here, as I've got to say. The main thing I feel with the talking point with this film is its politicalness of it. Now, this is going to be a bit of a touchy one, I will say this, but this is very much, it feels like, if you are on the left side of the political spectrum, shall we say, this movie feels like it is catering to anyone who feels under-depicted, basically. So we've got Ms. Marvel, who is an Asian Muslim girl. You've got Squirrel Girl, who they've redesigned to be like a fat girl. You've got America Chavez, who is a Latina gay character. You've also got Patriot, who is African American. So you have all of these groups of, all of these kind of characters which ultimately are on the kind of they're basically not straight white men, is what I'm getting at here. So all these people who are of one ethnic minority or some type of group, if that makes sense, who may have not seen themselves represented on film, they've got them all together and put them in this kind of like this one particular animated movie. Inferno, I'm not quite sure about, to be honest. I'm not familiar with the character, but anyway. So it feels like a political manoeuvre, I will say, to have like affirmative action, if that makes sense. I don't try and get political on this channel, but I couldn't help but feel this movie is trying a little bit too hard to be this, what I refer to as like the Benetton of the Marvel universe. I always remember like the Benetton adverts, if you know what I mean. Now, I feel this is really like an American thing, if I'm honest. This kind of like making a point of having it so diverse. So it's a little bit of a hard, as a straight white guy, it's a hard movie to really critique, and I feel like I'm treading on toes whenever I speak about this. But it felt like it was trying a little bit too hard in that area for me, and was deliberately trying to avoid, and it's very female heavy. I mean, when we get to our team, it's very much a, you know, one for the girls, I would say, when we kind of, you know, when we get to our roster, and who's basically kind of like calling the shots and stuff like that. So yeah, it's certainly made for an audience, but I feel, funny enough, that I feel like if you are a comic book fan of the old school comic books, you may feel a little bit left out of this one. But then again, it's by design. It's by basically, it's trying to kind of create something for maybe people who feel underrepresented, and for that way will work for them. So if you are in a particular group that maybe feels like you would like to see yourself on screen, this is clearly a step to kind of do that. But I feel maybe it's a little bit of an obvious step, and it feels a little bit like it's specifically made for that. Anyway, so this is a bizarre film to have to review, because I feel that's going to be the main thing people talk about here, to be honest. I mean, I'm not overly familiar with these characters, to be honest. I stopped reading comics about kind of like 10, 15 years ago. So a lot of these ones I'm just not familiar with, to be quite honest. So I know Ms.Marvel has been pretty popular. We'll see. To me, it didn't really hold my interest, to be honest with you. I thought that it was just a kind of like an okay kind of like cartoon. I'm not the most massive cartoon fan to begin with. I found it a little bit too pandering. I'm going to call it to that. But it will have its audience, I suspect. So this is going to be a little bit. This is a hard one to review. One of the hardest movies I've reviewed, because I feel this is going to be the thing with this film. You simply might not care about that stuff, in which case it's a fine animated movie, but with no real kind of like anything too clever in regards to plots or anything like that. It's just a kind of a pretty much an A to B action movie, animated action movie with some newer characters. So fair play for it to try and kind of like represent people who maybe feel like they haven't had anything before like this, but maybe part of me thinks it's gone too far in one direction. So 5 out of 10 I'm going to give it. So have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave me a comment and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.